The storm was not just cold, it was alive. Sharp winds screamed across the broken metal streets of Colony 9, slicing through the air like invisible knives. The night sky above the ruined planet burned with distant lightning, silent flashes painting the black clouds silver. Commander Ryan Cole pulled his jacket tighter, his boots crunching over frost-covered rubble. The outpost was silent now. No radio signals, no lights. Only the howling wind and the faint buzz of his broken communicator. He had been walking for hours, searching for any sign of life after the alien attack. The destruction was everywhere, twisted steel, burned walls, and shattered domes. The aliens had left nothing behind but silence. Ryan's breath came out in small white clouds. His power suit battery was dying. The temperature was falling fast. He knew he had maybe an hour before the cold claimed him too. Then, he heard it, a soft sound, something between a whimper and a cry. He stopped instantly, hand reaching for the plasma pistol at his side. His helmet's visor scanned the dark street. No heat signatures, no life signs, but the sound came again. This time closer, a small trembling voice, weak and scared. "Pete, please, help." Ryan's pulse quickened. It didn't sound human, not exactly. The tone was higher, softer, almost musical. But it was a voice. He followed the sound through a half-collapsed tunnel. The light from his wrist beacon flickered across broken pipes and steam vents, and then he saw her. She was small, maybe the size of a 10-year-old human, sitting against the cold metal wall, shivering violently. Her skin was pale blue, glowing faintly under the beam of his light. Her hair, if it could be called that, shimmered like strands of glass. She wasn't human. But she was alive. Ryan froze for a moment. The galactic law was clear. No soldier was allowed to aid an alien species without authorization. The punishment was death, but he couldn't just walk away. The girl looked up at him with wide, terrified eyes. "Pete, please. It's so cold," she whispered, her voice cracking. Ryan's throat tightened. Her thin silver robe was torn and soaked in frozen rain. She was trembling so hard that her small frame almost rattled against the wall. He could see the way her breath caught, the early signs of hypothermia. Without thinking, Ryan unzipped his military jacket and knelt down. Hey, it's okay," he said softly. "You're going to be all right." She flinched as he came closer, as if expecting pain. Her eyes, huge and glowing with faint violet light, stared at him in confusion. "Don't be scared," he said again, wrapping his jacket around her fragile shoulders. The fabric nearly swallowed her. "It's warm. You'll feel better soon." For a second, she didn't move. Then she touched the edge of the jacket with trembling fingers, as if she couldn't believe it was real. Tears formed in her bright eyes, gliding down her cold blue cheeks. "Thank you," she whispered. "Humans. They don't help us." Ryan looked away. "Not all humans are the same," he said quietly. As he helped her stand, his helmet sensors flickered, red warnings blinking across his visor. Alert. Galactic patrol signal detected. Enforcement drones approaching. Ryan's stomach dropped. He looked up at the dark sky. Small blue lights were descending from above like glowing insects. The patrol had found him. If they saw him helping an alien, he'd be executed on sight. The girl's glowing eyes widened as she saw the lights too. "They're coming," she whispered. "They will kill me. And you." Ryan clenched his jaw. "Not if I can help it." He pulled her close, wrapping his arm around her to keep her steady. Her body was weak, trembling, but her faint inner glow began to pulse faster, reacting to fear. He dragged her toward a broken cargo tunnel nearby. The entrance was half buried under debris. He kicked the rubble aside and pushed her inside. The space was tight and dark, but it would hide them from scanners. Outside, the hum of drone engines grew louder. Searchlights cut through the snowstorm, sweeping across the wreckage. Ryan turned off his beacon and crouched beside the girl. "Don't make a sound," he whispered. The girl nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. She was still clutching his jacket tightly around herself, her small hands shaking. For a long, tense minute, the drones hovered above, scanning, flashing beams of light. One beam passed dangerously close, so close that Ryan could see the shimmer of blue light through the cracks in the tunnel wall. Then, finally, they moved on. The sound of engines faded into the distance. Ryan exhaled slowly, realizing how fast his heart was pounding. He turned to the girl. "You're safe. For now. She looked up at him, eyes full of confusion, fear, and something else. Why did you help me? She asked softly. Ryan didn't answer right away. He looked at the frozen world outside, then back at her glowing eyes because, he said, voice low, someone has to. She blinked, and for the first time a small, shaky smile appeared on her face. But just as Ryan began to feel a fragile relief, his helmet radio crackled to life with a chilling message. Commander Cole, stand down. We know what you've done. The radio static filled the tunnel like a whisper of doom. Commander Cole. The voice was cold, mechanical, and calm, the kind of tone that only came from the Galactic Enforcement Network. You have violated Section 47 of the Unity Law. You are harboring a non-human entity. Surrender immediately. Ryan's breath caught in his throat. The girl looked at him, fear flooding her violet eyes again. Her small hands gripped his jacket tightly, as if it were her only protection in the universe. He turned off his communicator and slammed it against the tunnel wall, shattering it. The sparks lit up the dark for a second, then faded into silence. They were being tracked. Somehow the network already knew. Ryan exhaled sharply and looked at the girl. What's your name? She hesitated. Lyra, she said softly. Was from the Orion Sanctuary. The name hit Ryan like a memory from the old war reports. The Orion Sanctuary, a peaceful alien colony that was wiped out 5 years ago. Official records said all survivors were gone. But here she was, and one of them. What happened to your people? Ryan asked quietly. Lyra's eyes lowered. The humans came first with promises of peace. Then came the soldiers. They said we were dangerous, but we had no weapons. Her voice trembled. They destroyed everything. My family, my friends, everyone. Ryan clenched his fists. He remembered those missions. The classified ones where truth was buried under the words necessary security actions. He wasn't part of that war, but he had seen enough to know the truth. Sometimes humans were the monsters. The sound of engines echoed again from above. Ryan peeked out of the tunnel. Blue patrol drones were still scanning the ruins. Their voices echoed through speakers. Suspect confirmed in Zone 7A, use of lethal force authorized. He turned back. We have to move. Lyra tried to stand, but her legs gave out. Ryan caught her before she fell. Her skin was still cold, her glow dimming with each breath. You're freezing, he said. We need warmth. And food. He pulled her close and guided her through the narrow maintenance tunnels that ran beneath the city. His wrist pad showed a faint energy signal up ahead, an old power station, maybe still active. As they walked, Lyra kept glancing at him. Why do you help me? If they catch you, they will erase you. Ryan gave a tired half smile. I've seen enough orders that didn't make sense. Maybe it's time someone broke one. Lyra stared at him as if trying to understand. Humans, you feel pain for others? Some of us do, he said. At least I'd like to think so. After a long climb, they reached the remains of the power station. The roof was half collapsed, but the fusion core inside still hummed faintly, casting a dull orange glow over the metal floor. Ryan helped Lyra sit near the core, letting the warmth soak into her. Her trembling slowly eased. Her color brightened slightly, her glow returning bit by bit. He opened a ration pack and handed her a small energy capsule. Eat this. It's not much, but it'll help. She looked at it curiously.
Human food?
Sort of, Ryan chuckled. It's terrible, but it keeps you alive. She smiled faintly and took a small bite. The way she reacted, the cautious sniff, the tiny nibble, made him laugh quietly. For a brief moment, it almost felt normal. Then the floor beneath them vibrated. A deep metallic thud echoed through the air, followed by another, and another. Heavy footsteps. Not drones. Not humans. Ryan's instincts screamed danger. He grabbed his plasma rifle and motioned Lyra to hide behind a broken console. The door burst open with a hiss. A large figure stepped through, nearly 8 feet tall, wrapped in black armor with a glowing insignia on its chest. Unity Enforcement Division, a human soldier. But not an ordinary one. A sentinel enhanced for zero-empathy execution missions. Ryan aimed his weapon. Don't move! The sentinel's voice was calm and motionless. Commander Ryan Cole, you are under arrest for treason against the galactic unity. Ryan's grip tightened. She's just a child. Unauthorized species do not possess rights, the sentinel replied. Stand down or be neutralized. Lyra's eyes widened in horror. She whispered something like a soft sound, like a melody. Suddenly, the fusion core pulsed in response. A wave of blue light rippled across the room, shattering glass and flickering lights. The sentinel stumbled, its armor sparking. Ryan turned to her, shocked. What was that? Lyra was breathing hard, glowing brighter than ever. I can talk to energy, but it hurts. She collapsed again, weak from the effort. The sentinel recovered and raised its weapon. Ryan fired first, a plasma shot straight to the chest. The beam hit, but the armor absorbed most of it. The soldier advanced, mechanical and unrelenting. Ryan dodged behind a console, reloaded, and fired again. Sparks flew, filling the room with smoke and flickering light. Then Lyra lifted her hand weakly, pressing it to the glowing fusion core. Don't, Ryan said, but it was too late. The core exploded in a blinding burst of light. A shockwave ripped through the power station, throwing Ryan backward. The sentinel was blown apart in an instant, metal torn and scattered like paper. When the light faded, Ryan opened his eyes slowly. The roof was gone. The cold night air rushed in again. He looked around desperately. Lyra! She was lying a few feet away, motionless, and her glow fading again. Ryan crawled toward her and held her close. Her breathing was weak, shallow. I told you not to do that, he whispered, his voice shaking. Her lips moved faintly. I didn't want them to hurt you. Ryan felt a deep pain twist in his chest. You're safe now, okay? I promise. I'll protect you. Lyra looked at him, eyes half closed. You don't have to. But Ryan wasn't listening anymore. He looked up at the night sky, where dozens of blue lights were descending. More drones, more soldiers. He knew they would find them soon, but this time he wouldn't run. He looked down at the fragile alien girl in his arms and whispered to himself. If saving her means breaking the galaxy's laws, then maybe the laws are wrong. The night sky burned with blue light. Dozens of galactic drones descended like hunting wolves, scanning every inch of the frozen ruins. Commander Ryan Cole crouched behind the shattered wall, cradling Lyra's weak body. Her soft glow flickered like a dying star. He had only one choice left, escape, or both of them would die. The explosion from the fusion core had destroyed their hiding place and drawn attention from miles away. Now the air buzzed with drone chatter. Ryan's helmet radar blinked red, showing multiple hostiles closing in. He pressed his ear communicator, static. The transmission line was dead. They were cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Ryan muttered under his breath, Hang on, kid. I'll get us out of here. He scanned the horizon. Beyond the ruins stood an abandoned skyport, a rusting structure leaning against the storm winds. If he could reach it, maybe one of the old transport ships still worked. He looked down at Lyra. Her breathing was shallow. Can you move? She nodded weakly. I can try. Ryan lifted her into his arms. Her skin was freezing cold again, her faint light pulsing in rhythm with her slow heartbeat. Hold on to me, he said, and began running. The wind screamed around them. Snow whipped across his visor, blinding him. Each step crunched over ice and broken glass. The sound of thrusters roared overhead. The drones were sweeping low now, their lights cutting through the blizzard like blue knives. Ryan ducked behind a fallen tower, his back pressed against the cold metal. Why won't they stop? Lyra whispered. Because you exist, Ryan said bitterly, and because I didn't let them erase you. He looked into the distance and the old skyport lights flickered faintly through the fog, like dying fireflies. He had maybe 10 minutes before the drones closed in. Inside the skyport, time had stopped decades ago. Rusted ships rested like sleeping beasts under a broken roof. The walls were covered with frost, and the control panels were dead. Ryan gently set Lyra down beside an old transport craft. Small, two-seater, half buried in ice. He brushed off the snow from its control board. Come on, he whispered, tapping the panel. No response. He ripped open the side cover, revealing the power core. The wires were corroded, but the fusion crystal was intact. Looks like luck's still on our side. Lyra tilted her head weakly. Can you fix it? Ryan smiled faintly. I can try. Used to be a mechanic before I was a soldier. As he worked, Lyra looked toward the open doorway, her violet eyes reflecting the flicker of approaching blue lights. They're close, she whispered. I can feel them. Ryan didn't look up. Then I'll have to be faster. He rerouted the main conduit, bypassed the dead ignition, and sparked the core manually. The hum of power filled the ship. Got it, he breathed. The lights flickered alive. But before he could celebrate, a voice echoed through the night. Commander Cole, this is your final warning. Step away from the alien and surrender. Ryan froze. The sound came from outside, amplified, mechanical, and full of authority. He peeked out. A group of 3 sentinels stood near the gate, armored in black, their weapons glowing. Behind them, drones hovered like metal vultures. Lyra's hand trembled. They'll destroy everything. Ryan turned to her. Then we don't give them the chance. He sprinted to the cockpit, slamming the ignition. The engine coughed, sputtered, then roared to life, shaking the whole structure. The sentinels raised their weapons. Plasma fire tore through the walls, blasting holes in the metal. Sparks rained down. Ryan shouted, "Hold on!" and yanked the controls. The ship groaned as it lifted off the frozen ground, engines screaming under pressure. Outside, blue lasers sliced through the snowstorm. One shot hit the wing, tearing a chunk off, but the ship kept rising. Altitude 700. Ryan shouted, gripping the joystick. "Come on, girl, fly!" Lyra pressed her hands together, whispering something under her breath. The air around her shimmered faintly. The ship's broken stabilizers began to repair themselves, not physically, but through energy patterns that bent the metal. Ryan stared in disbelief. You're doing that?" Lyra nodded faintly. "I can speak to machines, but it drains me." "Don't push too hard," he said, his voice soft but urgent. "We'll make it." As they broke through the clouds, the stars stretched across the black sky like silver dust. Ryan finally exhaled. "We're clear." But relief didn't last long. A blip appeared on the radar. Multiple signatures, fast-moving. "Pursuit ships," he muttered. "They're not giving up." He turned toward the outer orbit where the derelict rings of Colony 9 floated like broken halos. "We'll hide in the debris field," he said. "It'll jam their scanners." The ship dove through the scattered remains of destroyed satellites and ancient ships. The metal fragments spun silently around them. Lyra looked out the window, her voice trembling. "Why do they fear us so much?" Ryan sighed. "Because people fear what they can't control. And you're something they can't understand." Lyra turned her gaze to him. "You're different. You don't fear me." He looked at her for a moment, then smiled faintly. "Maybe I should. But I don't." The radar beeped again. The enemy ships were gaining. Ryan cursed under his breath and pushed the throttle. "Come on, girl, hold together." Suddenly, the whole ship shook violently. A laser blast grazed the hull, filling the cabin with smoke. Lyra cried out as sparks rained down. Ryan covered her with his arm. "We're hit." He pulled a lever. "Manual override." The ship spun out of control, plunging toward a massive floating structure ahead. A wrecked colony ship drifting in orbit. Ryan gritted his teeth.
"Hang on!"
The impact was rough. The small transport skidded across the colony's metal surface, sparks flying until it finally stopped. Smoke filled the air. Silence followed. Ryan coughed, shaking his head. "You okay?" Lyra nodded weakly, her glow dim but steady. He looked around. The massive shipwreck stretched endlessly in all directions, a graveyard of the old galaxy. "This might be our new hiding place," he muttered. Then, out of the silence came a faint sound and a signal, pulsing from deep inside the wreck. Lyra tilted her head. "It's calling to me," she said softly. "Something alive," Ryan frowned. "Alive inside a dead ship?" Lyra looked at him with a strange, distant light in her eyes. "It's not dead. It's waiting." Silence. Only the hum of dying circuits and the slow echo of dripping condensation broke the stillness inside the massive wreck. Commander Ryan Cole shone his wrist light across the corridor. Flakes of rust floated like dust in zero gravity. Behind him, Lyra followed quietly, her faint blue glow pushing back the darkness. They had crashed on an ancient colony ship, one that once carried thousands of humans across the stars. Now it hung dead above the frozen planet, half buried in asteroid dust. No signals, no life, except for the soft pulse Ryan's scanner had picked up moments earlier. A heartbeat, mechanical, not biological. Lyra's voice was a whisper. "This ship, it feels alive. It's watching us," Ryan frowned. "Ships don't watch, kid. They record." But even as he said it, something inside him felt wrong. The air was too heavy, the silence too aware. They moved deeper into the corridor. Faded banners still clung to the walls. Words in Old English. Unity is freedom. Irony hung in every letter. Ryan remembered learning about these colony ships. They were meant to bring peace and expansion, but most disappeared after the first war against the Orions, Lyra's people. Lyra stopped beside a broken console. Her delicate fingers touched the surface and the dead screen flickered to life. Lines of alien code appeared. Not Orion, not human. Something between. Ryan took a step back. "You're doing that again." "I'm not," Lyra whispered. "It's doing it. For me." A low rumble filled the corridor. Lights flickered along the ceiling one by one, like the ship was waking from a long dream. A deep voice, metallic yet calm, echoed through the halls. "Identity recognized. Lyra of Orion. Access granted." Ryan's eyes widened. "It knows your name." Lyra looked confused. "I don't understand. I've never been here." The voice spoke again. "You were born here." Ryan froze. "Born here?" Lyra shook her head, clutching his jacket tighter. "No, my mother said I was born on Orion Sanctuary." "The sanctuary was built after the Exodus," the ship replied. "You are one of the children of the merge, the bridge between human and Orion." Ryan's pulse quickened. "Bridge between?" "That's impossible. The genetic merge project was banned before I was born." "Banned by fear," the voice said softly. "Erased by power, but not forgotten." The lights around them dimmed, replaced by holographic projections. They flickered into view. Scientists, soldiers, and alien figures working side by side. Ryan recognized human uniforms mixed with Orion robes. They were smiling, building, learning. Then the image changed. Soldiers in black armor storming the lab, firing, destroying everything. Lyra's small hand trembled. That's my mother." In the hologram, a woman with glowing blue skin shielded a small infant wrapped in a silver blanket, the same faint shimmer as Lyra's hair. A young human officer reached for them, and the screen went black. Ryan whispered, "That officer, that uniform, it's Unity Command." Lyra looked up at him, her voice shaking. "Your people killed mine." Ryan's chest tightened. He didn't deny it. "Not my people," he said quietly. "The ones who gave the orders." The ship's systems continued to hum. A doorway opened ahead, revealing a vast chamber filled with floating pods. Thousands of them, human, alien, and hybrid, preserved in cryogenic stasis. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "They're like me." Ryan approached one of the pods. Inside was a child, small with silver veins glowing faintly under the skin. Half human, half Orion, he turned to the ship's interface. "Why are they here?" "Hidden," the voice replied. "To protect them from those who feared their existence. They are the future of peace and the reason war was inevitable." Lyra stepped closer, pressing her palm against the glass. "Can they wake up?" "Their preservation cycle is ending. Without full power, they will perish." Ryan glanced around. "Then we restore the power." "If you restore power," the ship warned, "the Unity network will detect this signal. They will come. And they will destroy what remains." Ryan hesitated. Saving them meant calling death straight to their door. Lyra looked up at him, eyes glowing brighter now. "We can't let them die." He looked at her, small, fragile, but more human than any soldier he had ever met. "You're really something, you know that?" She smiled faintly. "You taught me that kindness means doing what's right, even when it hurts." Ryan sighed and placed his hand on the main console. "All right, ship. Tell me what to do." "Manual override located in the central reactor chamber. But beware. The failsafe is active." "Failsafe? A guardian? Programmed to kill anyone who isn't authorized human command." Ryan groaned. "Of course it is." He turned to Lyra. "Stay here. If anything happens, you run back to the shuttle and take off." Lyra grabbed his arm. "No, I'm not leaving you again." He opened his mouth to argue, but stopped when he saw the determination in her glowing eyes. Maybe she wasn't a child anymore. "Fine," he said softly, "but stay behind me." The path to the reactor was long and dark. Steam hissed from broken pipes. Sparks flashed from half-dead machines. The hum grew louder with every step until they reached a massive chamber. At its center floated a sphere of blue light, the heart of the ship. As Ryan approached, the shadows shifted. From behind the reactor stepped a towering figure, metallic, humanoid, eyes glowing red. "A Guardian unit," its voice boomed. "Access denied. Unauthorized presence detected." Ryan raised his rifle. Always the friendly welcome. The Guardian charged, slamming its metal arm down. Ryan dove aside. The impact shook the floor. He fired 3 plasma rounds, hitting its chest, but the shots only dented the armor. "Lyra!"
Get back!
But she didn't. She raised both hands, her glow intensifying. Energy waves rippled from her palms, striking the Guardian like lightning. The machine staggered, its circuits sparking. Ryan saw his chance and fired again, this time straight at its exposed core. The Guardian exploded in a burst of blue fire, pieces scattering across the chamber. The reactor lights flared to full power. The ship vibrated as life returned to its systems. "Power restored," the voice said. "Cryopods reactivating." Ryan fell to his knees, exhausted. "We did it." Lyra knelt beside him, smiling through tears. "They'll live." But before he could respond, the ship's alarm blared, sharp and piercing. "Warning, Galactic Unity Fleet detected. Estimated arrival, 3 minutes." Ryan's eyes went wide. "They found us." Lyra looked toward the pods, thousands of lives beginning to awaken. "We can't let them destroy this." Ryan stood, gripping his rifle. "Then we hold the line." The alarm's scream echoed through the ancient halls like the heartbeat of a dying god. Red lights flashed across every corridor of the ship, painting the metallic walls in blood-colored flickers. Commander Ryan Cole stood at the reactor balcony, his pulse racing. Below him, thousands of cryopods were beginning to open, steam hissing, glass cracking. The forgotten children were waking. Beside him, Lyra clutched the railing, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. "They're alive," she whispered, wonder and fear mixing in her trembling voice. Ryan nodded grimly. "Yeah, but they're not safe yet." Above them, the ship's voice boomed through the speakers. "Warning, Unity warships entering orbit. 3 minutes to impact." Ryan gritted his teeth. 3 minutes, he muttered. "That's barely enough time to die." He turned to Lyra. "You need to get the children to the lower decks. If the fleet hits us, that'll be the only place with some shielding." Lyra shook her head firmly. "No, you can't fight them alone." "I've fought worse," Ryan said, forcing a grin. "Besides, someone has to keep them busy while you lead the others." Lyra stepped closer, her small hand gripping his sleeve. "You promised to protect me. Don't break that now." Ryan looked down at her glowing eyes, and full of trust, fear, and something deeper. He felt the words stick in his throat. "Then we fight together," he said softly. The ship trembled as the first shockwaves hit. Outside, through the cracked viewports, the stars disappeared behind the blinding flare of plasma fire. Dozens of Unity cruisers descended like falling suns, their cannons aimed at the derelict colony ship. Ryan sprinted to the control deck, tapping the console. "Ship, can you defend yourself?" "Defensive systems offline for 227 years, the voice replied. "But manual weapon control remains operational." Ryan smirked. "Good enough." He glanced at Lyra. "Can you link with the systems again?" She nodded. "Yes, but it will drain me. Then we make it count." Lyra closed her eyes, placing her hands on the control node. The air shimmered. Her glow spread into the metal, lines of light crawling across the walls like veins. The ship responded, humming louder, weapon systems flickering back to life. "Manual link established," the ship confirmed. "Targeting enabled." Ryan grabbed the controls. "Let's give them something to remember." Outside, the ancient ship roared to life. Turrets unfolded from beneath layers of dust, energy cannons sparking with blue light. When the first Unity fighter dove in, Ryan fired. A streak of plasma tore through the black sky, hitting the fighter dead on. The explosion painted the void with light. "Direct hit," Ryan shouted. Lyra smiled faintly, sweat glistening on her forehead. "More incoming." Another wave of fighters appeared, forming tight formations. Ryan fired again, but there were too many. The ship shook violently as plasma rounds struck the hull. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Shields failing, the ship warned. Ryan slammed a lever. "Divert all auxiliary power." Power diverted. "Overload risk 70%. Do it anyway." The cannons flared again, brighter this time, almost white-hot. Several enemy ships exploded in a chain reaction, scattering fire and debris into the void. Ryan grinned, but his victory didn't last long. A massive cruiser emerged from the darkness, the Unity flagship. Its hull shimmered with gold markings, the emblem of the galactic law. "Commander Ryan Cole," a deep voice boomed over the comm. "Stand down. You are charged with treason and biological contamination." Ryan scowled. "Yeah, good to hear from you too." Lyra gasped as she looked out the viewport. "That ship. It's the one that destroyed Orion's sanctuary." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Then it's payback time." The flagship's cannon began to charge, a growing orb of white energy forming at its center. The blast would vaporize the entire derelict. Ryan shouted, "Ship, we need that reactor overclocked now. Overclocking will destabilize the core. Probability of explosion 98%. Then make it 97% and do it." Lyra reached for him, her voice weak. "If you do this, you'll die." Ryan looked at her. "If we don't, everyone dies." She stared at him, then slowly nodded. Her glow brightened once more. "Let me help." She pressed her palms to the console again. The reactor's hum rose to a deep resonant pulse. The ship shook violently as power surged through its veins. "Target locked," Ryan muttered. "Let's finish this." He fired. A blinding beam of blue energy erupted from the colony ship, slicing through space like a sword. It struck the Unity flagship dead center. For a moment, everything was silent. Then the flagship exploded in a storm of golden fire. The blast wave rocked the derelict ship. Metal screamed as parts of the hull tore away. Ryan and Lyra were thrown to the floor. The ship's voice crackled weakly. "Warning! Core unstable. Evacuation required." Ryan struggled to his feet. "Lyra, we have to go." But Lyra didn't move. Her glow was fading fast. "I gave too much," she whispered. Ryan lifted her in his arms. "Don't you dare die on me," she smiled faintly. "I'm not dying. Just sleeping." "Not now, kid," Ryan said, his voice breaking. "Not after all this." He ran through the collapsing corridors. Fire erupted behind him. Explosions echoed through the ship like thunder. As he reached the escape bay, a familiar voice echoed through the smoke. "Need a lift, Commander?" Ryan froze. From the open hatch of a small scout ship stood Sergeant Tessa Vorn, one of his old allies from the Unity War. A rogue now, hunted just like him. "Tessa?" Ryan gasped. She smirked. "Still breaking rules, I see. Get us out of here." Ryan jumped aboard with Lyra in his arms. The hatch sealed shut, and the scout ship launched into the void just as the derelict behind them exploded in a blinding flash. From the viewport, Ryan watched the light fade, the ancient ship, the thousands of hybrids, everything. But before the explosion vanished completely, a faint blue ripple spread through space, like a signal echoing outward toward the stars. Lyra stirred weakly. "They're not gone," she whispered. "The ship sent their memory into the network. They'll live again." Ryan looked down at her, a small smile breaking through the exhaustion. "You're full of surprises." Outside, the galaxy burned with new light. The war had just changed, and for the first time Ryan felt hope. The stars stretched endlessly before them, cold, beautiful, and silent witnesses to a dying war. Commander Ryan Cole sat in the pilot's seat of the small scout ship, his eyes fixed on the swirling nebula outside the window. The blue light from the engines painted his tired face in ghostly color. Behind him, Lyra lay resting on a narrow bunk wrapped in his dark jacket. Her faint glow pulsed in rhythm with her slow breathing. Even asleep, she looked fragile, as if a single whisper could shatter her. Across the cockpit, Sergeant Tessa Vorn adjusted the ship's scanners. Her voice broke the silence. "3 destroyers are sweeping the sector. We can't stay cloaked for long." Ryan rubbed his eyes. "They won't stop until they find us. The fleet's gone too far to back down." Tessa gave him a sharp look. "You realize what we just did back there, right?" "You blew up the Unity flagship." Ryan gave a tired half smile. "Yeah, I noticed. Half the galaxy's hunting you, Cole, and that girl." Tessa nodded toward Lyra. "Whatever she is, they want her bad." Ryan's jaw tightened. "She's not a weapon. She's a child." Tessa sighed, leaning back in her seat. "Maybe, but she's also the biggest secret the Unity ever buried." An alarm beeped softly. The navigation screen flashed, "Incoming signal, unknown origin." Ryan frowned. "We're still jamming. How did that get through?" Tessa checked the panel. "It's not coming from outside the system. It's broadcasting from within the nebula." Lyra stirred, her voice weak but clear. "I can hear it." Ryan turned. "You're awake." Lyra sat up slowly, her violet eyes glowing brighter now. "It's not a machine signal. It's a song, Tessa blinked. A song? Lyra nodded. The same melody the ship played before it died. It's calling us. Ryan looked at the star map. The signal pointed toward the center of the ardent nebula, a region filled with ion storms and dead ships. No sane pilot went near it. He hesitated. If we go in there, the ship might not survive. Lyra met his eyes. If we don't, we'll never know what it was trying to tell us. Ryan sighed, staring out at the swirling clouds of blue gas. Tessa set a course. Straight into the storm. Tessa raised an eyebrow. You've officially lost it. Wouldn't be the first time, Ryan said. The small ship dove into the nebula. Lightning arced between massive clouds of charged dust, turning the darkness into a flickering ocean of light. The sensors glitched and static filled the cockpit. Lyra pressed her hands against the console, whispering softly. The system stabilized. Ryan looked back. You're doing that again. She smiled faintly. The storm speaks the same language I do. I'm just asking it not to hurt us, Tessa muttered. Remind me never to argue with a storm again. The deeper they went, the stronger the signal became. It pulsed through the metal of the ship, deep, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Finally, the storm cleared just enough for them to see it. A colossal structure floated ahead, half ship, half living organism. Its hull shimmered with veins of blue light, stretching across miles of metal. Ancient symbols glowed faintly on its side. Project Genesis, Ryan's breath caught. That's impossible. Genesis was destroyed before the Orion War. Lyra's eyes widened. No, it wasn't destroyed. It was hidden. They docked cautiously on a small landing bay. The interior was silent, lit by the soft glow of bioluminescent walls. Every surface seemed to pulse like skin, alive, breathing. Tessa looked around, uneasy. This thing gives me the creeps. Ryan stepped forward, weapon ready. Stay sharp. Lyra, however, looked strangely calm. It's familiar, like I've been here before. A faint hologram flickered to life at the far end of the chamber. The image was of a woman, tall, silver-haired, wearing the emblem of early Unity Command. Her face was kind, but her eyes were tired. If you are seeing this, she said softly, then the experiment has survived. Ryan's heart skipped. Who are you? My name is Dr. Adele Voss, lead geneticist, Project Genesis. Humanity sought peace through understanding, but fear corrupted everything. The Council erased our work, destroyed our worlds, and hunted our children. Lyra stepped closer. You created us? The hologram turned toward her. You, child, are proof that we were right. You carry the DNA of two species meant to heal the galaxy's divide. But if the Unity still rules, then the war never ended. Ryan clenched his fists. It didn't. They turned peace into control. Dr. Voss's voice softened. Then the hope we built lies in you, Lyra. Inside you is the seed code, the key that can awaken every hidden hybrid across the stars. You are not alone. Lyra's glow intensified. Seed code. I can feel it. Like it's waiting. But beware, the hologram warned. The code cannot be activated without sacrifice. It draws from life energy. The stronger your compassion, the greater the cost. The hologram flickered and faded. Silence returned. Ryan turned to Lyra. So that's why they're hunting you. You're the key to restarting the entire merge project. Lyra nodded slowly. If I use it, I could awaken millions. End the war, Tessa frowned. Or burn yourself out in the process. Ryan placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. You don't owe this galaxy anything. You've already done more than anyone should. Lyra looked up at him. But I want to, maybe. This is why I survived. Suddenly, the floor trembled. The ship's sensors blared. Tessa checked the display. Multiple warp signatures, Unity fleet inbound. Ryan cursed under his breath. They tracked the signal. Lyra turned toward the glowing walls. Then we can't run anymore. She placed both hands on the central console. Light flared around her, brighter than before. Her voice echoed calm and strong. If the galaxy fears what I am, then let it see what I can be. Energy surged through the ship. The Genesis structure came alive, its walls rippling with motion, its engines igniting after centuries of silence. Ryan shielded his eyes as the entire vessel rose from the nebula, shaking off the dust of time. Outside, the Unity fleet fired, but their blasts dissolved against a shimmering blue barrier. Lyra stood at the heart of the light. Glowing like a star reborn, Ryan whispered, awed. What are you doing? Her voice came softly. Not fighting. reminding. Across the stars, every hidden hybrid, every suppressed AI, every spark of forgotten compassion began to stir. The signal carried her song, an echo of hope woven through light. For the first time in 100 years, the galaxy heard something stronger than war. It heard forgiveness. The stars burned white as dawn spilled across the void. The Genesis ship, ancient and alive, floated in the center of the storm, its glowing hull pulsing with blue veins of energy. Around it, the Unity fleet formed a deadly circle, hundreds of warships locking their cannons on one target. Inside the ship, Commander Ryan Cole stood beside Lyra, watching through the main viewport. Her small frame was trembling again, but not from fear. From power. The seed code inside her had awakened, glowing beneath her pale skin like 1,000 suns trapped in glass. Behind them, Sergeant Tessa Vorn checked the scanners. "They're charging the Oblivion cannon," she said grimly. "One shot from that thing and this ship's dust." Ryan's fists tightened. "They're going to erase her. They can't control what she stands for, so they'll destroy it." Lyra turned her glowing eyes toward him. Maybe they have to see first. Maybe they need to understand before they stop. Ryan looked at her, torn between fear and admiration. "You don't owe them anything, Lyra. You saved lives, risked everything. You don't have to keep proving you're good." She smiled faintly. "It's not about proving. It's about showing them what goodness still looks like." Her glow brightened until it filled the entire room. Ryan stepped back, shielding his eyes. "Lyra, what are you doing?" "I'm giving them a choice," she whispered. The ship's ancient AI spoke softly, its voice like a memory. "Warning, activation of seed code may destabilize organic host." Ryan shouted, "Stop this, Lyra." "It'll kill you." She turned to him, her voice calm and full of warmth. "You once told me someone had to do the right thing. Even if it hurts. You gave me your jacket when I was freezing. You didn't know me. You just helped." She placed her hand on his cheek. "Now it's my turn." Ryan's throat tightened. "Please, there has to be another way." Her tears shimmered, catching the blue light. "If there is, humanity never found it. Maybe it's time someone else tries." Then she stepped forward into the beam of the Genesis core. The ship roared to life. The seed code unfolded like a blooming star, light bursting through every corridor, every chamber. The hull itself began to sing, low, resonant, echoing across space. On the Unity flagship, Admiral Corvin watched from his command deck, face hard as steel. "Fire the cannon," he barked. The massive Oblivion weapon powered up, its light rivaling the sun. But before it could release, the Genesis ship's glow spread outward, touching every ship in the fleet. Their systems flickered. Lights dimmed. Screens flashed with a single message: "Remember what you were." Inside each ship, holograms appeared. Memories of soldiers' families, children, moments of kindness, laughter. Humanity long buried under obedience. The fleets faltered. Crews froze, tears filling eyes hardened by years of war. Ryan watched the impossible happen. The entire armada stopped firing. Lyra stood at the core, her body dissolving into light. Her voice echoed through every ship, every mind, every heart. "You built laws to keep peace, but forgot what peace was. You feared difference, and in doing so, lost yourselves. I forgive you," Ryan shouted, his voice cracking.
Lyra, please.
"Come back." She looked at him one last time. "Thank you for showing me what it means to be human." Then her body turned into pure light and exploded outward in a brilliant wave. The blast didn't destroy, it transformed. Every ship, every drone, every machine caught in the wave fell silent. Soldiers dropped their weapons as warmth filled their chests, a strange, unfamiliar feeling spreading through them. Compassion. Across nearby planets, sleeping hybrids awakened, their inner glow resonating with Lyra's. Across the stars, barriers fell, signals of unity pulsing from one world to another. The war ended in a single heartbeat. And in that silence, for the first time in generations, the galaxy listened to itself. Hours later, the Genesis ship floated quietly near the ruins of the nebula, its core dim but alive. Ryan sat on the floor beside the main console, head bowed, hands shaking. "She's gone," he whispered. Tessa knelt beside him. "No, Ryan, look." He looked up. On the central screen, faint light pulsed, a small glowing figure formed out of energy. Lyra's face appeared, smiling softly. "Don't cry," her voice whispered, gentle as a dream. "I'm not gone. I'm part of everything now. Ryan reached out, touching the screen. You did it, kid. You really did it. Her light flickered like starlight. Promise me you'll teach them what you taught me. Ryan smiled through his tears. Kindness? Lyra nodded. Yes, kindness. That's how humanity wins. The light faded slowly until only a faint echo remained, like the afterglow of a sunrise. Weeks passed. The Unity government collapsed under its own guilt. The truth about Project Genesis spread through every system. Humans and Orions began rebuilding, not as enemies, but as survivors of their own fear. Tessa took command of the first peace fleet, delivering aid instead of destruction. And Ryan Cole, once a fugitive, became a voice of reconciliation, carrying Lyra's story across the stars. Everywhere he went, people asked him the same question. What was she like? And every time Ryan would smile, look up at the stars and say, she was shaking when I found her. But when I gave her my jacket, she smiled like she'd never known kindness before. That smile changed the galaxy. Years later, near the rebuilt Orion Sanctuary, a small memorial stood among glowing trees. At its center was a crystal sphere, softly pulsing with light, the same hue as Lyra's glow. A plaque beneath it read, "She didn't fight with weapons. She fought with warmth. Lyra of Orion, the child who united the stars." Ryan stood before it, older now, his hair silver and his heart heavy but full. He whispered, "You kept your promise, Lyra, the galaxy remembers." Above him, the stars shimmered, one of them blinking brighter than the rest. Like a child laughing somewhere far away, Ryan smiled. "Yeah, I see you." The wind stirred softly, carrying a faint whisper through the glowing forest. "Thank you, Ryan." He looked up one last time at the sky, full of light, full of peace, and for the first time since the war began, the galaxy was quiet.